Jung taught us that within each of us, there is a hidden world, a place where the key to understanding who we truly are resides. This world cannot be seen with the eyes, but it can be felt, like a whispering voice calling us to look beyond the surface. However, we live in a society that constantly distracts us and encourages us to seek answers outside of ourselves. Jung, on the other hand, invites us to take a radical step, to stop and look within. Perhaps you have already felt disconnected, trapped in a cycle of emotions you don't understand, in relationships that don't fulfill you, or in a routine that feels empty and meaningless. Why does this happen? According to Jung, it is because we have forgotten how to listen to ourselves, that inner part of us that holds the answers we so desperately seek. This disconnection not only affects our emotions but also impacts every aspect of our lives. Our decisions, our relationships, and even our health. The real challenge is not to solve what happens outside but to face what we ignore within. Carl Jung called this process the integration of the shadow, the moment we recognize and accept the parts of ourselves that we have repressed. Unresolved emotions, fears we avoid confronting. It's like accumulated energy demanding to be released. But this requires courage, for looking within means facing our vulnerabilities, our mistakes, and, most difficult of all, our responsibility. Perhaps you have felt this discomfort in specific moments. A sense of emptiness at the end of the day, exhaustion after interacting with certain people, or even a strange resistance whenever you try to change something in your life. This is not merely your mind playing tricks on you. These are signs from your unconscious. Jung believed that the unconscious does not communicate through words but through symbols and emotions, like a secret language that we can only decipher when we take the time to listen. Each time we ignore these sensations, we disconnect a little more from ourselves, and this disconnection accumulates like an invisible weight that we carry daily. Without realizing it, we start prioritizing others' needs and believing that this is the right thing to do, that it is an act of kindness. But in truth, to heal our emotional lives, we need to learn to prioritize ourselves. This is not selfishness but self-love, an essential concept, according to Jung, for living fully and authentically. Self-love is not a cliché or an empty phrase. It is a deep commitment to yourself, an act of respect for your own existence. It means setting boundaries, saying no when something does not resonate with you, and, above all, giving yourself permission to be who you truly are without masks or pretenses. Jung said that only when we allow ourselves to be authentic can we find the emotional balance we long for. However, this path is not simple, as it requires letting go of what no longer belongs to us. Sometimes, this means releasing people, habits, or even dreams that are no longer aligned with our essence. Imagine that your life is a garden. If you allow weeds to grow unchecked, they will consume the nutrients that the flowers need to bloom. In the same way, when we let toxic relationships, self-destructive patterns, or unresolved fears dominate our lives, we prevent our true essence from shining. These weeds must be removed, and trust that by doing so, you are creating space for something new and better to grow. This process of letting go will not always be understood by others. Some may call you selfish or try to make you feel guilty for prioritizing yourself. But here lies Jung's most powerful lesson. The outer world always reflects our inner world. If there is peace and clarity within you, the relationships and experiences you attract will reflect that. You do not need to convince anyone of your path. Simply walk it with determination. When you start prioritizing yourself, something magical happens. Your energy shifts, your perspective expands, and you begin to see opportunities where before you only saw obstacles. It's as if the universe responds to your decision to take care of yourself. Jung called this synchronicity, those moments when everything seems to fall perfectly into place in your favor. But synchronicity is not mere coincidence. It is the result of being aligned with yourself. The change will not be immediate, nor will it always be easy. There will be days when you doubt yourself, when you wonder if it's really worth it. But every small step toward your authenticity brings you closer to a more fulfilling life. Jung reminded us that the true purpose of life is not to avoid pain, but to find meaning in it. When suffering is faced with courage, it becomes the bridge to our evolution. Today, I invite you to reflect. What parts of yourself have you been ignoring? What emotions, dreams, or needs have you set aside to prioritize others? And what could you gain if you dared to listen to yourself and give yourself what you truly need? The answer to these questions will not only transform your life, but also help you discover the immense potential that exists within you. When you start listening to these inner signals and acting accordingly, something profound shifts. It's as if a door that has always been closed begins to open slowly, allowing in a light you have never experienced before. That light is your truth, the authentic version of yourself that has always been there but may have been forgotten amidst the demands of the external world. Carl Jung taught us that the unconscious is not just a place where traumas and fears are hidden. It is also a source of infinite wisdom. Within it lie the answers to many of the questions you have asked yourself. Why do certain people seem to drain my energy? Why do I keep repeating the same patterns in relationships? Why do I feel stuck, despite trying so hard? These answers are not outside of you. They are within, waiting for you to have the courage to find them. Perhaps you have noticed that certain people, situations, or even places trigger intense emotions in you, such as anger, sadness, or a sense of emptiness. Jung explained that these experiences are reflections of your own shadow, the part of yourself you have repressed because it does not fit the image you want to project to the world. But here's the secret. These emotions are not your enemies. They are your teachers. They reveal which parts of you need attention, which wounds need to be healed. The process of integrating your shadow is not comfortable, but it is necessary. It requires you to be brutally honest with yourself, to look in the mirror without judgment and accept all the parts that make up who you are, even the ones you consider less desirable. Because only when you fully accept yourself can you truly change. Jung said that until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate. In other words, everything you deny or avoid facing will keep reappearing in different forms until you finally decide to confront it. Imagine for a moment that you are carrying a backpack full of stones. Each stone represents a repressed emotion, an unresolved fear, or a toxic relationship you refuse to let go of. This backpack is heavier than you realize, limiting your ability to move forward. But here's the good news. You have the power to open this backpack, examine each stone, and decide which ones you no longer need to carry. This act of letting go is liberating but also transformative. Letting go does not mean forgetting. It means learning from what you have experienced, taking what is useful, and releasing what no longer resonates with who you are now. It is an act of self-love, a clear message to your unconscious that you are ready for something better. When you do this, something surprising happens, your energy shifts, and with it, your reality begins to change. Jung firmly believed that the outer world is a reflection of our inner world. That's why, when you transform your inner world, the external world inevitably responds. You may notice that, as you prioritize yourself, certain people or situations disappear from your life. This is not a coincidence, it is a natural alignment. Relationships and circumstances that do not align with your truth cannot sustain themselves when you choose to live authentically. It may be painful, but it is necessary to make space for what is new. As you move forward, curious things start to happen. The right people begin to appear, relationships that inspire and support you. Experiences that once seemed impossible now flow into your life with greater ease. This is the synchronicity Jung spoke of, that feeling that everything is happening at the perfect moment. But to reach this point, you first need the courage to prioritize yourself. The greatest obstacle in this process is not others, it is you. That inner voice that tells you that you are not good enough, that you do not deserve love or success, that you should settle for less. Jung called this voice the inner critic, a part of our psyche shaped over the years by external expectations, past criticisms, and failures. But here's the truth. That voice is not you. It is merely an echo of the past, and you have the power to silence it by replacing it with a new narrative. When you start treating yourself with compassion, something wonderful happens. You begin to trust your decisions more, to feel more confident in your choices, and, most importantly, to believe in your ability to create a life that truly inspires you. You do not need anyone else's approval to be happy. You only need your own. This is the true meaning of prioritizing yourself. Giving yourself permission to be happy, even if that means disappointing some people. Life is not meant to be a constant struggle, but rather a journey of self-discovery, growth, and connection. But to experience it fully, You must be willing to look within, face your shadows, and let go of what no longer serves you. This is Jung's greatest lesson, the invitation to truly know yourself, not as you think you should be, but as you really are. When you walk this path, something extraordinary happens. You begin to remember who you truly are, not the role you play in society, not the image you try to present to the world, but your authentic self, the unique and valuable being that has always been there, waiting to be recognized. And when you live from this place of authenticity, you not only transform your own life but also inspire others to do the same. When you begin to remember who you really are, something within you awakens. It is like emerging from a long sleep, and for the first time in a long time, everything starts to make sense. This awakening is not a sudden event, but a process that unfolds with every small act of self-exploration, every decision to prioritize yourself, and every moment you choose to listen to your inner voice. Jung spoke about the importance of individuation, the path through which you become who you truly are, beyond societal expectations, the masks you wear, or the external influences that have shaped you. However, this process does not happen in a straight line. More often than not, it feels like a labyrinth. You take one step forward, then two steps back, and at times you may feel completely lost. Yet, even in moments of deep confusion, you are still progressing, because every step brings you closer to your essence. You may face resistance, not just from the external world, but from within yourself. There is a part of you that clings to what is familiar, even if that familiarity is not what's best for you. The mind has a natural tendency to hold onto the known because the unknown feels frightening. But here lies the great irony. Only by stepping into the unknown do we find the answers we seek. Jung believed that our greatest transformations occur in moments of uncertainty, when we are challenged to let go of who we thought we were in order to discover who we truly are. In this process, it is essential to remember that you are not alone. Although this journey is deeply personal, it is also universal. We all face our shadows, our doubts, and our fears at some point. And in this shared struggle, there is a profound beauty that connects us to the human experience at its deepest level. When you confront your shadows, you are not fighting something external, but rather aspects of yourself that need to be integrated. Jung taught that our shadows are not our enemies but our allies, if we learn to listen to them. Every intense emotion, every overreaction, every recurring conflict is an invitation to look beyond the surface. In these moments, you can ask yourself, what am I ignoring within me? What part of my story needs to be acknowledged? This honesty with yourself may be uncomfortable, but it is also liberating. By facing what has been repressed, you realize that you are not as fragile as you once believed. You have the ability to endure your own pain, process it, and transform it into something that strengthens you. And in doing so, you reclaim your power. You no longer need to seek validation from external sources because you find everything you need within yourself. True transformation happens when you understand that the answers are not outside of you. They are within. That failed relationship, that job that didn't meet your expectations, that goal that seemed unattainable. None of these were failures. They were mirrors reflecting back what you needed to learn about yourself. Jung taught us that every experience, no matter how painful, serves a purpose to help you grow, evolve, and move closer to your true self. However, growth does not mean that you will never face challenges again. Life will always present new lessons, new obstacles, and new opportunities to continue learning. But when you learn to prioritize yourself, to listen to yourself, and to trust your intuition, these challenges are faced from a place of strength, not weakness. This does not mean that fear disappears completely, but it does mean that fear no longer paralyzes you. Intuition, the inner voice we so often ignore, is one of the most powerful tools we possess. Jung believed that it is through intuition that the unconscious guides us toward what is best for our soul. But listening to it requires practice, because we live in a world that teaches us to distrust ourselves, to seek answers outside rather than within. Rebuilding trust in your own intuition is an act of rebellion and self-love, one that has the power to transform your life. Each time you choose to prioritize yourself, you strengthen this connection to your intuition. You begin to notice things that once went unseen, a feeling, a persistent thought, an emotion that arises out of nowhere. These are not coincidences. They are signals from your unconscious, reminding you that you are on the right path. And when you learn to listen to these signals, you realize that you are not walking blindly. There is an inner compass that has always been there, waiting for you to trust it. By trusting your intuition and following these inner messages, your experience of life changes dramatically. Decisions that once felt complicated now flow with greater clarity. The opportunities you have been seeking begin to manifest. And most importantly, you feel a deeper connection with yourself. This connection is not something external that you need to search for. It has always been within you, just waiting for you to pause long enough to recognize it. Jung taught that the most important relationship we can cultivate is the one we have with ourselves. Yet, in today's world, it is easy to forget this. We spend so much time trying to meet others' expectations, trying to fit into imposed molds, that we rarely stop to ask ourselves, what do I truly want? What do I need to feel fulfilled? These questions, though simple, hold immense power. Fulfillment is not found in perfection or in the approval of others. It is found in authenticity. To be authentic means to be willing to face all parts of yourself, including those you would rather hide. The shadow, as Jung called it, is not something to be feared, but something to be understood. Every part of our shadow carries a lesson, a fragment of wisdom that can help us grow. To access this wisdom, we must look inward with courage and curiosity. Perhaps you have been taught that certain emotions, like anger, sadness, or guilt, should be avoided or suppressed. But these emotions are not enemies, they are messengers. Anger may indicate that your boundaries have been violated. A sadness may reveal how much you valued something you lost. A guilt may offer deeper insight into the consequences of your actions. Jung reminded us that these emotions are not the problem. Ignoring them is.